Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Democratic View. And with me today, as I am the hostess, Phyllis Italiano, I don't want to leave that out, so you should know my name, is a lady who I admire a great deal.
Oh, nice.
Sylvia, our present councilwoman who asks the best questions.
Oh, thank you. I hope so.
I love the questions that you ask about things that people are talking about.
I hope I'm asking what people want to hear the answers to. So
well, I think you are.
Good.
I think
good.
you really are, because
good.
I mean, you take the words right out of my
mouth. Oh, good. Then you've been channeling yourself.
So I wanted to talk about the Antibias task force, which I know was revived after being dormant for some years. And then there were those incidents that brought it back up to us in a very vivid fashion. And you are the liaison. And we had 2 films on 2 Friday nights right here at LTV.
Right.
Now, one of them was in a very, very cold day, or I should say evening, really, with enormous amounts of ice. And after I couldn't break, I decided I was going home. So I didn't see it, although I hope you're going to plan on showing that one again.
I hope so. Yeah, that would be fun.
But the other one, A Time for Justice,
right.
was like reliving my life of all of the things that we went through from the incident of, I remember exactly what I was doing. I was washing my mother's kitchen floor. Wow. When it came over the radio that the Supreme Court had ordered the desegregation of schools. It was like, wow. And an amazing thing began in this country that needs to continue.
And we're still finding our way back. It's still not, we still need to, maybe not on the same level as in the 60s and 70s, but we certainly need to find our way back to, and question ourselves. We haven't come as far as sometimes we think we have.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true, and we see it, you know, in little incidents that around town, not around town, but around
the country, yeah.
Around the country.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I felt as I watched that film is that there was so much history there that I'm not sure the kids of today know. I'm not sure my own children know.
Well, that was the point of showing those 2 films. They were both award-winning, Academy Award-winning documentary shorts. They're not, you know, terribly long, but they're long enough to give you that that feeling of, oh my gosh, there's so much more that needs to be done. And there were so many brave people that, you know, put their lives on hold to really make sure that there was a huge group of people, and actually any minority in the United States, that would be listened to and have a chance to have all the things that were promised, all the things our Constitution promises for everyone. So it was an amazing film. Both of the films were amazing films. The first one is about the Children's March, which had to do with a group of kids in school that boycotted all at one time. They got themselves organized enough to a very specific time. They got up from their desks and walked out.
Wow.
And how it happened, and the bravery of just those kids getting up and saying, we've had enough.
And where was this?
This was in Birmingham.
Oh.
So that was the Children's March. And then the Time for Justice really gave a timeline. And it was Julian Bond that narrated it, who, I know you were in Atlanta at a point in your life. I was in Atlanta at a point in my life. And John Lewis, who was a congressman when I was in Atlanta and is still a congressman from that district in Atlanta. So, you know, there's a lot of things that continued about that are going on today. But it was a really good evening, and we did it in February because it's Black History Month.
Right.
But it was a very cold February and a very snowy February here.
I should say. What a February, holy mackerel.
We would love to do it again and get more people out just to see the film. They're well done. They're just well done.
They really are.
Yeah.
They really are well done. And for anyone who is young and has not experienced this or any of these really very monumental happenings, you know, you really have to acquaint yourself with the history of this country.
I think there is a part of disbelief, particularly if you come from the Northeast. Sometimes you didn't see that anger, and you didn't see that the vitriol and the hatred, all the things that sort of had built up. You saw that in that film, little clips and photographs of things that had happened, and you have to remember that did happen here in the United States.
That's right.
And sometimes it's hard to believe. It really is hard to believe.
And I remembered, you're right, mentioning about living in Atlanta, and I know they showed a little bit of some of the things that were going on in Georgia, but I remember Georgia when I was there in the, well, I was there when President Kennedy was killed. I was there when those children the bomb exploded in the Birmingham. And I also remember that seeing the way in the outskirts of Georgia, like Valdosta and around the lower part of the way African Americans lived. And it was, for a girl from the Bronx, you know, I mean, I had been through Harlem and things like that. I never saw anything like that, and it was shocking. Shocking.
Yeah, there are some very poor sections still within the United States. So, yeah, it is.
And you know, it's the truth of the matter is they don't, being an educator also, people don't understand what that poverty does to children as they are growing up. I know in my own school district, Yonkers Public Schools, which has got a very large African American population, and the last school I was in was in a neighborhood of African Americans. And I remember that there were many children that had our breakfast and our lunch program. And I knew that was the only meals they ate.
Yeah.
And that's tough. That's tough, you know, how much poverty we still have in this country. So anything we can do to expose our sort of insulated community to the realities of life is very helpful. So I hope you guys will continue on with that.
We will continue along that lines. We also had a student film, I wouldn't say it was a student film festival. We asked for some student films to be presented. We got several. One that we showed was from Montauk, and it was called The Bullies. And it really dealt with just that, bullying in school and what that means. And it was a very poignant script that they had written and then acted out in the hallways at the Montauk School. And then the Spring School, the name of it escaped me, How to Be the Best, or What's It Take to Be the Best, was from the Spring School. And that was sort of part animation, where they had, do you remember, the part animation and part not? And so that film was also one of those really very clever. I mean, we've got really great kids that are, you know, they considered this entire program and submitted these films. So we're really happy. We're hoping to show them to the whole town board. So they're only 3 minutes each. They're not long. They're like, so 7 minutes of town board time. I think it's worthwhile. And I've asked the supervisor if we could show them, and he says yes. I need to ask the other town board members as well. But it would be, it's nice to know we have creative, not only the kids, but also the teachers that are helping them, make these films. So really a lot of effort went into it, and that was really fun too, to watch those.
And by the way, as a teacher, that's a great task to do, because I used to do that for a living. I was that kind of a teacher. I was an enrichment teacher that made films with kids.
That's fun. I mean,
Yeah,
kids
great.
really learn. They actually, the
Yes.
spring school also had their, they have an opera company at the spring school. I think it's the 4th grade opera company. And so those kids wrote a song, and that was also part of their film that they produced too. So it really integrated a lot of different things into their nice little short 3-minute film. But again, topics that are important. And to kids, bullying is very important.
Oh, you bet.
And so it's something that we have to grapple with and we have to take
Yes.
seriously. So, and how to be the best is also something that we have to work on as well. And these kids see it, and that's what's fun.
Yes. And we want to talk a little bit about the other big thing that you have been involved in, which was sustainability. And how is that going?
Well, the Energy Sustainability Committee is working. We've been very disappointed that PSEG and LIPA did not move forward with the renewable energy that we call a feed-in tariff. Renewable energies would have been solar and wind.
Right.
And so they did not move forward with any of their that outreach that they had, request for proposal, which was to use town property to put in a solar farm. And then there was a big wind project to be in Block Island. And so we were disappointed that those did not even get mentioned. So that's part of our, what we said last year in 2014, we wanted to be 100% renewable, our electric would be 100% renewable by 2020. We were depending on some of those programs to come through. So for them not to even think about the East End, including Southampton, not even thinking about the East End and renewable energies, is really, I think, very harmful for our resiliency that we need to have as a community in the wake of, climate change, superstorms, the amount of snow we can get at one time.
Well, I mean, really and truly, I think if anybody, occasionally you'll read a letter of somebody denying climate change, you really want to say to them, wait, did you just live through the same February I lived through? Because from January 25th till, a week and a half ago,
Yeah.
there was an amazing amount of snow. I had Del Cullum on during that time, and he said he's lived here all his life, and he never saw snow like that.
Yeah, I've never seen so much snow stay. Usually we
Yes.
can get big snowfalls, but then
Right.
it warms up, it melts, and we start again.
Particularly because we know that in the air right out here, there's salt.
Yeah.
So salt helps the snow to disappear very quickly. And, especially when you get towards February, when you've got the heat of radiation, which, means that the daylight is longer, and therefore it will evaporate quickly. It didn't go anywhere. I still have it all over.
Well, I still have some. I have seen, we have a small lawn, and I can now see part of it. So I'm very hopeful.
I still have my Christmas lights buried, and I can't get them down.
Can't get them out? Okay.
I can't get them down, so I turn them on when I leave, when I'm going out. What the heck?
Okay.
But the lines are buried under ice. I can't get them.
Yeah, eventually we'll all get. And you have a lot of trees, right? You live very wooded place.
I do live in a very wooded place. Yes, yes. I have 1,750,000 leaves on my property every fall that I have preserved next to me. But it has been a very, very, very tough on the animals as well.
Yeah.
You see the deer trying to move in the. I mean, it breaks your heart. Even though I don't want them eating my garden,
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I could cry for them now. But anyway, how are we going to overcome the resistance from LIPA and PSEG? Although I tell you the truth, I don't understand the relationship between the two.
Well, my understanding is that PSEG operates the system and LIPA owns the system. So it's probably a little more complicated because my understanding is that there were some changes even in 2015, at the beginning of this year. So, and I'm not sure exactly what those changes were, but PSEG is a private company, based in New Jersey.
From New Jersey.
So that has stockholders. They need a profit. They want a profit, and companies should have that. It's just that the ratepayers are the ones, I think, that are going to see and make it tougher for us to live here because the rates are going to continue to go up. And we need this solar. We need the solar impact. We need them, and we need the grid. I'm not denying that we need to be on an electric grid, but we need to be sure that we're doing it through renewable energies that can keep us sustainable and can keep our resources intact, that is non-polluting, either air or water, and both of those things can happen through fossil fuels. So, their program, their Utility 2.0 program, which a lot of us went to all of their hearings, and they had one actually out here in East Hampton at the East Hampton Fire Department. We want to make sure that what they have promised us, or what they have said they would at least consider, is actually considered instead of dismissed. And so they've dismissed renewables and decided to go with what they call peaker plants, which are fossil burning plants. So we don't, and they are polluting. They pollute the air, eventually all that falls into the water, and so then we pollute our water as well.
Does anybody know about Venus?
I don't know, but it sounds like a good book title.
No, Venus is, that's a good one. Yeah, I must remember that. No, but when the Soviets tried to land Venetra on Venus, because it has such a heavy atmosphere of CO2 for the naysayers, Venetra was crushed.
Oh, it was the atmosphere was that heavy?
Was that heavy that
Wow.
it crushed. It took them several times before they could actually land something on the surface of Venus, which is a hard planet,
Right.
not a gaseous planet, and because the CO2 is so completely, well, you didn't teach science, but
I taught biology. That's close enough.
that's true, you did. I forgot that you taught biology. So if I talk about DNA, you'll know.
I'm much better equipped to deal with DNA than I am with the planets.
But it is something that we all have to remember. And one of the things I think that was in the Star this week in the editorial was that having the kind of system that we would like to see of the solar and wind power,
right.
we would be the wholesalers to the retailers, being PSEG. We would be supplying them, which is a very good way of looking at it.
Yes, and that is part of the program that has come down from Albany, is that PSEG and LIPA cannot actually produce their own energy. They have to, so we can do that. Other people, third parties. There are a lot of people in the solar industry and the solar business. We've met with several of them. And again, we would still continue. We've got several spots where the town could lease the land for solar arrays, and that would be doing at least our part.
And so now we're going to move on to another thing that I know you have worked on, which is the wastewater. Being the liaison, you were the person to the scab waste that had all of those incredible DEC, what did they call them?
Well, there were some violations there, but anyway, DEC mandates that we had to complete. Those things have pretty much moved on.
Because it's closed.
Because it is closed, yep.
And we have saved now 800,000?
It will be probably, we'll see the bulk of that savings next year, because there's still going to be some costs in closing it down.
Okay.
So in mothballing it, or things that need to be taken out, according to the DEC. So we're still working on it, but it is closed.
So now, where are we going to be doing about the fact that, particularly in areas like where I live in Springs, where there are small lots and there are some very old, I'm not even going to call them septic systems, I'm going to call them cesspools,
Yeah.
and like mine.
Well, I mean, we haven't completed that program, which we'd like to consider, which would be something similar. I think Southampton has a program, and Suffolk County also will help pay for part of the, of going over to a better or a newer, an upgrade in your septic system. So, but we don't have that yet in East Hampton.
Yes, the governor got all this money from a lawsuit. I think it's over $1 billion that is supposed to come back to us to be able to help people. And I want to tell you that a friend of mine in Sag Harbor, in the Southampton part of Sag Harbor, has already received.
Oh, really?
A letter with a whole big thing of her to upgrade, with how much money she would be able to get from the town to be able to upgrade to a septic system which would mitigate nitrogen.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that.
Well, eventually we'll get there. We will, and of course our biggest concern is actually waterfront properties, or that contribute to any kind of water body.
Yes, well, this property, as a matter of fact, I know is closer to water
okay.
than, let's say, somebody like me.
And we have, issues with our wetlands and things like that. We did get a grant. Well, actually, Nature Conservancy got a grant for over $9 million to buy land in Lazy Point that is, which is great. So I think there are 29 properties applied, and they're going to buy out 16 or 19, I can't remember the number, of those. Either, a lot of them are empty, but there are a few that have homes on them. Buy them out and let that land, which is very low lying, come back to being kind of the natural kidneys of the earth. And so that really does help stop flooding and some of the issues that we're going to keep facing as we go through climate change.
And as a matter of fact, I will say that any bit of land you guys can get your hands on, please do it.
Well, the CPF has been so incredibly important to us and so incredibly successful.
I know.
They are doing, I think it's the Pine Barrens is giving a party for $1 billion. $1 billion has been raised through CPF, through the towns that have CPF programs. And that has really been instrumental in helping us save a lot of properties. We just did the outreach to the Montauk watershed area for Lake Montauk, got a lot of properties purchased. We were looking first at wetland properties, and then properties that are next to a preserved area, and then waterfront properties themselves. So we were able to, that again, it's a willing seller, program. Somebody has to want to sell. We're going to do a reach out now in Springs. And again, we were looking at wetlands and waterfront areas and places that are already near preserved land. So we're really excited about getting that off. I think there are just over 100 properties on that outreach that we're going to do for Springs.
Hurry up.
Well, the letters are coming. So I was just at the CPF committee meeting, and that was the discussion, and they're almost ready to go.
That's great. That's great, because I worry a great deal about my bay. I'm here for my bay. I'm not here for any other reason except the bay, where I swim. And I worry about what that, what it's going to continue to be.
Yeah.
I want to see.
And it can't just be done locally. I mean, it has to be done regionally, and then it has to be done nationally, and then it has to be everybody.
Absolutely.
So there are going to be some cleanups this spring. Del Cullum's going to do his cleanup again. I just got an email
he's doing it in
him.
April this time.
Yes, he's doing it in April.
Smarter.
That was, well, it is smarter, but and then Surf Riders, I think, is also Surf Rider Club, the one that John Ryan Jr. At the middle school is going to do.
Oh, nice.
So his group is going to participate in Hands Across the Sands, and which talks about keeping our oceans and beaches clean, and then they're going to do a cleanup right after that. That's sometime in May. So, and then we have Earth Day coming up on the 22nd of April, and then there's a Great East End cleanup, and that's really sponsored by Southampton. But I just got an email from Christine Scalera. She's spearheading that. They do that every year on Earth Day.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so
Yeah.
happy to hear that. I know I'm personally in charge of Flaggy Hole, where I
good.
swim, because I clean that up. I mean, me and a few of my friends, you know, we clean that up all the time.
Yeah.
It's very
Well, now that the snow's melting, we're starting to see all the debris that's underneath the snow. It really looks sort of pretty until now we see, oh, there's a cup over there and a bottle over there. Oh no, we got to pick those things up. But yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. So, and we still have our for the town of East Hampton Adopt a Road program. So if you're interested in adopting a road.
You know, I actually am interested in adopting a road. I was very happy I waited, because I don't know if I could have done it in February, because you couldn't walk on my road.
Well, be safe. I mean, that's the first thing. But the Adopt a Road program, you need to call Steve Lynch.
Yes.
And he's been very helpful in getting that program kind of back together and started, along with the Recycling and Litter Committee, which I'm also the liaison to. So that's been helpful.
Yes.
And so, you know, Arlene Gideon was really helpful in getting that program started, who's on our committee. So it's, you know, we're trying to do lots of different fronts and lots of different things and lots of things that people in East Hampton can participate in.
Well, we want to do the most important thing. We want to save East Hampton. We want to keep East Hampton as beautiful as it should be, as it was, you know, when we first came here and went, oh, what a place.
What a place, what a place.
You know,
and I'm grateful and lucky every day that I get to wake up and look out my window and think, oh, I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. There's no place else I want to be.
No, there really isn't.
Really?
I mean, even though it was snowy and the winters are dark,
All right,
and
that's okay.
You're absolutely right.
The sun comes in my house anyway.
Well, there's a beauty to it. There's a beauty that you have to enjoy that beauty as well.
We had a full moon one night, and when you looked outside, it was that line.
Just last week.
Yes.
Just last week we had the full moon.
And it was that line. The rest of the new swollen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below. Thank you, and continue your good work.
Thank you. Always fun to be here. I'd love to talk about